Hey everybody, Tim here with kind of a new series of reviews coming down the line. November 4th, so next month, almost a month from today, His Dark Materials starts to debut, which I'm super excited for. I listened to the books. So at the time I was in college, I took the train there every single day, and it's always too noisy for me to read. So I fell in love with audiobooks, and I still to this day, like if I'm driving in my car, anything like that, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. So I came across the His Dark Materials series by Philip Pullman in the audiobook form, and it was amazing. Like, it blew my mind because it was so good, because like all of the different characters are played by different actors, and it's actually like a full radio drama. And so like there was no confusion on who this person was or who that person was, and it was actually like listening to the movie or listening to a movie of the series, and it was really well done, and I just kind of fell in love with the books. That being said, it has been, at least 7 years, maybe 8 years since I listened to them. So a lot of it is kind of more of like, I remember really enjoying it, but I don't necessarily remember a lot of the specifics for it. So I am really, really excited for this show. Now, all of that being said, I did decide that the 2007 movie, The Golden Compass, did kind of deserve a rewatch, just to kind of familiarize myself with the characters and stuff like that. Now, the show is basically going to take place of that, and I don't know if they're planning on doing like one season for a book or like kind of stretching it out even further than that. To me, one season equals one book makes a lot of sense, because I mean there's only like 3 books in the actual series, and then I think he came out with a 4th book, and then I know there's some like little minor novellas in there somewhere. But I mean, I'm not planning or expecting this show to go on further than like 4 seasons, 5 at the very most, but I do know there's a lot of rich materials in there. So I did kind of decide to rewatch the movie, and my husband had never seen the movie, so I actually had him kind of sit down with me and be like, hey, is this like an interesting enough plot for you to watch a TV show based on it? And of course he's just like, man, whatever. Overall, like I actually do enjoy this movie. I think it's better than most people give it credit for, but it does like rip the book to shreds. And I saw this movie before I had ever read the books, so I'm able to kind of separate the two. That being said, anytime I watch a movie and then I read the book it's based off of, I tend to enjoy both. If I read the book and then I watch the movie, I will love the book, but I will hate the movie series. Confession time, I don't like the Harry Potter movies for that particular reason, because I've always read the books and then I watched the movies. Couldn't do it. Whereas in this instance, I did watch this first, and then reading the book kind of gave me an appreciation for both. I don't know why. It's a weird mental thing, and I can't seem to like trick my brain out of processing it differently. But a lot of the casting was really great. Let's see, like I said, this came out 2007, so seeing Daniel Craig and then Eva Green in it as well, although I don't think they share any scenes together. It was kind of fun because I'm also doing James Bond reviews, and I had just done Casino Royale not too long ago, so I think that's kind of interesting to see them together. The whole dust connecting the worlds is a really interesting premise, and I know going into the second and the third book how more important that is, which I won't spoil anything like that, but it is kind of really interesting. The 3 main kids of Lyra, Billy, and Roger are great. Derek Jacobi and Christopher Lee showing up. I did not remember them being in it, and Christopher Lee only has like 1 line. Derek Jacobi's a great actor, especially like since he was in Doctor Who, and now all I see is the Master anytime he comes on. There's some really kind of terrifying scenes with like the monkey when it's choking Ratter. The alethiometer, I hope I said that right, is kind of an interesting thing, but in this movie I feel like they didn't do enough with actually showing Lyra reading it. Like, we always see her picking 3 symbols, but it doesn't actually go into it and actually explain why she's choosing what she's choosing and how they kind of tie things together. And that's kind of the weird thing with, I remember watching this movie the first time and I was like, this is a really interesting concept. And then reading the book or listening to the book, and then rewatching this movie, it's almost more like a clip show. Like there's so many little snippets, and then it just moves so fast through all of the material. You're just like, wait, why aren't you expanding on that idea? Well, it's because they only have like 2 hours to play with, and they can't expand any more on it, which is why I'm really excited for this show. I do really appreciate some of the background stuff, like the blimp planes and all sorts of stuff like that. Roger going missing from the Gobblers was kind of intense. Learning all about the Egyptians, and I do think it's a great like editing thing where like whenever we see a person killed and watching their demon like turn to dust right there, it was actually filmed really, really well. I do like watching Lord Asriel like being chased. It's just a Bond scene, like him being chased along the glacier. It was great. The spy flies were creepy as hell. Like they're actually really well done. And like them talking about how, oh, it's a clockwork with a demon inside of it. I was like, I need more. Like, what exactly are you talking about? So again, hopefully we get more of that in the TV show. And like, I actually really like when it comes back and Lyra hands her mom like the tin after it's been closed. It's actually a really great like foreshadow technique watching her like pry it open. And as soon as she hands it to her, like you don't get enough time to process like, oh, this is great. Like it's so fast. And I really, really appreciated that. Sam Elliott is a terrific actor. The whole polar bear subplot, once again, like I feel like they could almost do several episodes based off of that storyline as well, like her pretending to be the demon and stuff like that. I'm really curious. So there's a scene in the movie that Philip Pullman actually wrote for the movie. It's not in the book. It's actually, he sat down and wrote it in the script for this movie, where Nicole Kidman slaps her monkey, and like the monkey like reacts and it starts crying, and then she like picks up the monkey, and you can actually see the handprint on her face as well, because technically her slapping her demon would hurt her as well. Like Philip Pullman actually wrote that scene just for this movie, and I'm really interested to see if that little snippet will make it into the TV show. I seriously doubt it will, but it'll be really kind of interesting. When we finally find Billy without his demon attached, without Ratter, it is heartbreaking, and it's actually kind of creepy just to watch him. Like he is now like mentally disabled, like he's physically handicapped because they cut his demon away from him. And then when they start to cut Lyra's demon, it's a terrifying scene watching the blade come down, and it kind of starts to cover up Pan's face. Like it's really scary. And then of course Nicole Kidman comes to the rescue. The bear fight was terrific and kind of brutal, where he like rips the jaw off. Like a lot of these snippets I was actually really impressed with, but just like as the overall whole is where it kind of starts to fall apart. Because for example, when they come to the big fight scene, and then the bear just shows up. Like we don't see him. You'd think a bear walking in would make this big grand entrance, or even if he just like jumped out of one of the aeroplanes, like it would have this like big thunderous landing. But no, he's just right there, and he just knocks over the guards, and he's like, "Run, Lyra!" And it's like, oh, okay, like where did you come from? So stuff like that is where I feel like this movie kind of fell apart, was with the editing and the details. Whereas with a show, that's where you can really expand a lot of this stuff. You're not in a rush. You can take a 2-hour movie, and I think the first season's 8 episodes, and stretch it out to an 8-hour epic season. Rumor has it that George R.R. Martin actually like saw this movie and was like, no. If you're going to do Game of Thrones, you're going to do it as a TV show. You're not going to do Game of Thrones as a movie. And that's actually what kind of inspired him to do a TV show rather than like some horrible, god-awful Game of Thrones movie series. And I mean, realistically, like I've been begging for this show to be for this book series to be made into a show for years. Same with Aragon. I feel like if they ever did Aragon, probably either a show or some Lord of the Rings epic type movie series. Probably a show. But overall, like watching this movie, if I watch it as snippets, as like, hey, this is going to be really interesting, like this movie actually holds up pretty good, and I'm really excited. But it does more as a this is what could be than it does by itself. If they had done some more movies, I would have loved to have seen it and maybe see how the path went. So I won't spoil it, I guess, for those who are going to watch the series or have not seen this movie. But the ending, they actually filmed the ending, so it was a lot more like the book, where it was dark and it was gritty and it was like a very, very unhappy ending. And that's kind of what I wanted. Like, I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. But they didn't do it. Like, the studios kind of interjected and were like, no, we're not going to do that ending. We'll save that for the beginning of the second movie. Which right there, that's a mistake. And sure enough, they never got the second movie because they didn't have that cliffhanger ending. So I cannot wait to see how they do the ending of the first season, or at least the ending of this first book. For those who have seen this movie, what did you guys think of it? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? I was a teenager when this movie came out, so I do kind of have that nostalgic viewpoint of looking at it. So how old were you guys when you first saw this movie? Are you guys going to watch the TV show? Go ahead, let me know what you guys just kind of think about it in general, and I will see you guys next month for the series premiere.